Hello everyone, welcome back to Bots and Bits. Today we are taking a look at the three warps. On the left we have BB7's Skywarp, on the right we have Takara, and in the middle is the new KBB Skywarp with Coronation Kit. Just something to note before we get started, my Takara does have KFC articulated hands, and I have already applied repro labels to my BB7. So straight away we can see that the KBB plastic is a much deeper, richer purple than the Takara or BB7, which look near identical. You can see it has a Hasbro toy style wing stripe instead of the thin stripe on the Takara here. Some of KBB's more unique details. In the shoulder vents you can see that we have red paint applied to some of the raised areas, whereas on BB7 and Takara it's just plain silver. And speaking of silver, you can see that Takara is more of a flat, toy-like silver, whereas KBB has a real sheen to it and more of a reflective surface. Also, you can probably see now the null rays have a very dark gunmetal paint applied to some of the details, so it's not just plain black plastic all the way along. Into the chest area you can see the dark purple stripe looks okay on one side. I do have a bit of a blob just there on the corner, but looking on the other side you can see it's a real mess. Look, there's just paint missing. And also I do have quite a bit of nasty chipping. Look at that, straight down to the plastic around this vent. And on top I have scratches and dents. If I can find there, see that? So pretty sloppy. The face does have the same silver sheen to it as the rest of the body. Now it looks like they've painted this whole piece silver and then sprayed the purple over the top. And they haven't, it's a bit hard to see, but it really is not an even coating. There's also a lot of silver detail coming through in these bits, which you may or may not like. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, I doubt it. Move further down. Other differences is we have the MP03/06 style hip skirts done in the same metallic sheen with a bit of red detail under there. I quite like how these look compared to the Takara, which is more of a flat, streamlined. And also you see with Takara and BB7 this little crutch area here isn't painted at all, which is really weird. It's just grey plastic. Another difference is the vents are much darker than on the Takara. Let's get the Takara in. These tail fins are quite floppy. It's the same on my Starscream, and you'll find it's the same on the Thundercracker as well. But anyway, focusing on the tail fin detail, you see the stripes and colour scheme are very different. So we'll check out some details on the wings. The KBB obviously has a very different wing pattern to Takara and BB7. So you'll see also the lights are very different. The red on the Takara is really vibrant, whereas the KBB you can barely notice it. But KBB have used sort of yellow and gold mixture just along here, which is seeped into the details really nicely, and they've finished it off so it all stays within the detail, whereas on my Takara it just looks like a really big sticker, doesn't it? There's hardly any detail in that. It's just so flooded with paint, and the paint is even bleeding out onto the plastic, which is not a good look. Also, it looks like the KBB plastic is a darker black and has more of a gloss finish to it. It's not a really strong gloss finish, but it's not the matte, leaving fingerprint marks plastic that the Takara and BB7 have. There is also a pretty big colour difference in the cockpits as well. KBB have opted to remove this plastic ring from all of their MP11 molds. The head needs to pass through this during transformation, and it can be a little bit tricky. So they've opted to remove it, and what it does is it makes the back plate substantially longer and a little visible in bot mode. That might be a problem for some. The problem is that the head still has a little bit of difficulty passing through these two hinges. See how the plastic sort of sticks out a bit? The ring might as well still be there. It still takes a little bit of wiggling to get it through. Here you can see the KBB coronation kit looks absolutely beautiful in its matching purple. The gold on the crown is incredibly vibrant, even when comparing it to the MP11, while the MP11 is a little bit more yellow than KBB. The purple jewel markings aren't quite as defined as MP11, but I'm happy to give that one a pass because overall it just looks fantastic. The cape itself has a real amazing flow to it under the right lights. I mean, you can still see the mold injection points there and there and around here, but overall that just looks perfect, doesn't it? The crown, the shoulders, that cape, even with the extended back plate, you can see that cape still sits at a very good level. And just because I see this question pop up quite regularly, yes, BB7 can wear KBB's coronation kit. And while we're here, we may as well chuck it on the Takara. I'm going to cover some of the structural differences between the three models. So here I have the BB7, and as you can see, they are using the same push plug as Takara for the hip joint. Not much give in there, they've put that in pretty well, and they're using it in the armpit as well. So this had the launch problem of the left arm falling off, and as you can see, I've had to make my own ratchet joint again, because when those teeth would flex, it would push that plug out and eventually it snapped, and the plug hole inside is actually cracked, so I had to put a much larger screw in there to hold the plastic in. But now, as you can see, that's fine, that's strong as. They did a recall in August and I haven't heard of that popping up since. And taking a look at the KBB, we can see that they have removed the push plug from the hips and have instead gone for a screw and washer. Now I haven't opened all this up yet to see if there's a nut on the other side or not, but I'm just going to assume for the time being that it's just a screw and washer. But it still has the same amount of range and very little flex at all, really. In the armpit they use the same push plug, but it looks a bit smaller. You can see the spring through it, which you can't on Takara or BB7, and that is a little bit softer. That one's a bit different. That one's tighter. So maybe it's a problem with the mold and they specifically made this one different. Now the other well advertised differences are in the torso connections. Personally, I think that KBB does this the best. What they have done is not only have they extended the peg here, but they've added grooves into the channels for this slider just to slot into, and it holds really, really well. So then, yep, holds pretty well. Compare that with Takara, as we can see, small peg, no grooves. I can't even line that bloody peg up. Yeah, straight away. BB7, no grooves, but they have extended and thickened that peg, I believe, and that holds pretty well. I find that just manipulating this bit in the front here just to get it to go all the way in. It helps quite a bit. There we go. Come out, but it still took a bit. Now, something I've noticed with the BB7 while making adjustments is the length in ratchet clicks seem to be a lot longer. So if we look at his stance, if we click them together like that, the first click is quite a wide stance. If we look at Takara, put them in together, the first clicks out are like that. I think there is a noticeable difference. And then comparing it with KBB, first clicks in and then one click out. Stand up. You can see KBB has a much straighter first ratchet click. I think that is a much better standing pose than that. I also find that it being so far apart makes the feet a little bit unstable. And see the heels, how they're sitting? They're just sort of balancing on the edge. KBB. It's much more surface area touching the shelf. I think Takara is quite similar to KBB in that regard. Hang on. Yeah, see. It's a bit inconsistent. When it comes to hip wobble, Takara is by far the worst. As you can see, it's nothing substantial, but it is there. The BB7 is similar to that, not quite as bad. And the KBB that uses the screw instead of the push plug, those hips aren't moving at all. And also, just to note, the KBB has this die-cast metal shin plate instead of the plastic. Now, I'm not going to bother covering the transformation. We all know how to do an MP11 by now, and there's really no difference in any three of them. So here are all three transformed in all their glory. Now, during the transformation, I did find the Takara was the easiest to transform, especially these arm pegs here that hold the wings into the side. They just went in without any trouble. Also, the flaps are quite stiff. Same with the tail flaps. That one's really stiff. So that's what you want. Problem is though, this nose cone never quite closes all the way. There's still that seam. Let's get it to focus around there. And the cockpit, as you can see, I've got some sort of glue or something down there. And closing the cockpit, so I've got like a large gap down that side. Not too bad down that side. And also I can't get this to connect. No matter how much I adjust this. See, it looks fine. Bring the nose. See, the nose cone doesn't line up. Let's adjust the seat. No. As good as it's going to get. Now with the KBB, I had quite a bit of trouble getting these pegs in. As you can see, my wings are coming apart. There's a screw back there, but there's nothing here. I think that's just glued on this. And look at that, look. And it's come off. That just looks like glue to me. And it's the same. Oh no, the other side's not too bad. But yeah, that was quite a hassle to get on. but it all went in together really well. Apart from that breaking on camera, that's just fucked. Flaps are pretty loose. Not that anyone really messes with them. Focus, damn it. Anyway. And in the back here, these tail fins are quite loose, and they've extended the clip in there. The Takara is quite short on top, and there's also a bit of a gap through there. On the plus side, absolutely perfect. That just sits in excellently. Still got that gap in the nose cone. I don't know why they just don't remove this. Nobody gives a shit about that. But that is perfect. And then with the BB7, I had similar trouble with these pegs in the arm. This plastic feels a little bit softer, so just in this section, so it has a bit of flex to it. But still, with KOs, you always handle them with kid gloves, just in case. But I've transformed this about 4 or 5 times, and it's still really good. The flaps are as stiff as you would expect them. The back ones are really stiff. They don't want to go down really, and they've extended that top clip as well. And with the on this that's quite loose. Well, not loose, but it doesn't take much to move it. Cockpit, again, look at that. They've managed to sort that right out. More of a gap here. So I can just adjust that. Nah, that's what it looks like. But still, I'm pretty impressed with that. And of course, I've put repro labels on mine. So let's see how well all three hold together. We'll start with the Takara. Holds together pretty well. Probably one of the better MP11s they've released. Give the KBB a shot. Nothing budges. And we'll try the BB7. I reckon that's the winner for me. So something I've noticed while transforming the three is the different sounds in plastic. We have the Takara. Just give it a bit of a squeeze. It's quite loud. Compare it with the KBB. Which hardly makes a sound at all, and even with the BB7, it's quite a still. The final decision really is a difficult one between KBB and BB7. So it really comes down to which colour you like more. Both have their pros and their cons. You saw some of the QC issues I had with KBB. You saw some with BB7. When buying KOs, you really have to expect a bit of inconsistency, some errors here and there, but we get them with Takara as it is. Ultimately, it's up to you which one you pick. If you go either BB7 or KBB, for the price, you're going to be pretty happy. KBB is slightly cheaper, and I got mine from toybento.com, so head over there and say g'day to Ben. I'm sure he'll be able to hook you up.